Oh guys, my intro has been running for so long because there's so much I want to talk to you guys about, but let me just try to summarize it. In 2017, we had a bull market preceded by the ICO. So being able to share that security of Ethereum and minting of these tokens, so easily mint tokens and then share Ethereum security, and that led to a bull market. So that crashed, and then the previous bull market was DeFi, essentially using these tokens through something called decentralized finance, so lending, borrowing, and that kind of thing. And then somewhere in the middle of, so we're seeing that extension of those tokens through DeFi. And then in the middle of DeFi, we see the emergence of NFTs or the adoption of NFTs, and that completely destroyed this space. So killer app, NFTs, and we're going to see the evolution of NFTs, which are going to lead to use cases of cryptocurrencies in ways that we can't even imagine. And that speaks to things like soul bound tokens, a concept that was proposed by Vitalik Buterin, and that's why you're seeing here, this was a paper written by Vitalik Buterin. Guys, there's so many use cases here, including borrowing money because you're proving your identity, and these other use cases like preventing cyber attacks, and the possibilities are limitless. So guys, let's talk about the soul bound tokens and NFTs and see what they're about. So what you're seeing on the screen in this paper written by Vitalik this year, essentially he references World of Warcraft, and the whole point of referencing this, before we go into the definition of soul bound tokens, this is a necklace that you're seeing here that you can, like an item you can get in a game, which is a soul bound item, or rather ticked as that. So it goes to the neck, it gives you extra stamina as you interact with your character, it gives you 7+ intellect, gives you more spirit, and requires a level of 38 to attain. So what is a soul bound token? So here it goes into one feature of World of Warcraft that is a second nature to its players, but goes mostly undiscussed outside of gaming circles, is the concept of soul bound items. A soul bound item once picked up cannot be transferred or sold to another player. So you're asking yourself, hey, I'm getting an NFT, it cannot be transferred to another person. What is the use case? Guys, I'm not going to read this whole thing, just a summary or definition of what this is. So most very powerful items in the game are soul-bound tokens, and typically, or soul-bound, they are soul-bound, and typically require completing a complicated quest or killing a very powerful monster, usually with the help of anywhere from 4 to 39 other players. Hence, in order to get your character anywhere close to having the best weapons and armor, you have no choice but to participate in killing some of these extremely difficult monsters yourself. So why is he giving such an example? Because it goes here to talk about what if NFTs could be soul-bound tokens, and since I'm not going to read this whole thing, the idea is that he references something called a POAP, or proof of attendance token. So it's the company that creates or issues out these tokens called proof of attendance token. My first interaction, or I first encountered these tokens when I participated in events in Decentraland. So you're offered these tokens to show your proof of attendance, but you can sell these tokens. Some people buy them, you can transfer them. I've never sold or transferred mine, but you can easily transfer them to another wallet that never actually attended that event. Now, this can be stretched out, not just Decentraland, but also any other event or proof of attendance or proof of resume, proof of medical documents, so stuff like that. So a soul-bound token is a token bound to you because it encompasses certain characteristics that just cannot be transferred from you to another person. It just can't happen, right? So they're supposed to ingrain your validity of what you're trying to apply for, because they represent your validity towards that thing that you're trying to attain. So what if governance rights could be soul bound, stuff like that? For example, it gives an example here. It's a topic I've written about ad nauseum. So, but it continues to be worth repeating. There are very bad things that could easily happen to governance mechanisms if governance power is easily transferable. This is true for two primary reasons, guys. I'm not going to read all this, but for example, in crypto, we have proof of stake and proof of work. Proof of work, you need to invest in all this physical infrastructure to solve a puzzle called a number used only once, or a nonce. So you solve this mathematical puzzle to get a reward of Ethereum, Bitcoin, or whatever cryptocurrency. Then there is proof of stake, which is just money. It just depends on how many tokens you have, and if the tokens are high in price, if you have a lot of money, you can just buy up a lot of them, and you can influence the vote, which goes to governments, which goes to institutions that have their own selfish interests. So with the issue with something like a soul bound token that you cannot transfer, if by community, let's say a community has voted certain people that they think should speak for them in as far as a certain governance model is concerned, then there comes in things like soul bound tokens, where you have certain people that the community entrusts to make some of these decisions. Of course, you could make them in such a way that maybe that right could expire or something like that. Then, of course, this paper goes into how this can prevent Sybil attacks. So if you don't know what a Sybil attack is an attack wherein the reputation of a system is subverted by forcing forging identities in peer-to-peer networks. So the lack of identity in such networks enables the bots and malicious entities to simulate fake GPs reports to influence social navigation systems. So that's one thing Soul Bound tokens can help with. There's another concept here. So people using these like the Internet of Humans. I wanted to talk about these guys, which is the proof of humanity. So we have a concept already developing with the use of these Soul Bound tokens. So these guys created the Internet of Humans, proof of humanity, a system combining webs of trust with reverse Turing tests and dispute resolution to create a Sybil proof list of humanity. So like we've looked at the Sybil attack definition. So here you can actually form your profile, which encapsulates who you are. Now what's interesting is that when you try to form your profile here, this platform shows you your address, then advises you that to either use a publicly available address, so your own address that's already publicly out there, or you can create a new address and like wash it through Tornado Cash so that you come in with a fresh new private address and create your profile, starting off on a purely clean slate. So this made me realize that it's probably why the governments in the United States jumped onto the Tornado Cash, because when Vitalik wrote the paper, pinpointed it to Tornado Cash, then you have these guys also using Tornado Cash. This is good use case of Tornado Cash. Those that do not know Tornado Cash, those that do not know is that this was a platform that was deemed illegal by the United States government because you can make your transactions private. If you try to channel through them, there's a pool of transactions. You take your transaction out, it's private because it's lost in there. Now forming a profile here, you could use that. So these are examples of actual practical use cases that you can use for a privacy driven platform, or a platform that puts privacy at the front or enables you to achieve that privacy standard, because everyone to some extent is looking for it, even governments, even countries, because not everyone wants to expose their transactions, right? So Soul Bound tokens, there's a lot of papers that have been written around this concept. I just thought it was quite interesting, and it might lead some of the new waves of innovation that we're seeing in the NFT space. Now, for example, I'll quote a little bit of this paper, then I'll go through this infographic chart that's going to simplify everything and give you some of the summarized use cases of some of these things. So if you're a developer out there, this might be a good idea. It's something you might do to prepare for the next bull run. If you're a developer, for example, the importance of Soul Bound tokens becomes clearly evident when you notice how NFT owners have to use OpenSea or Twitter to prove ownership of their collections. So in addition, decentralized autonomous organizations depend on Web 2 platforms, so the ones that don't implement cryptocurrencies and all that, because that's considered Web 3. So those ones, the previous ones, Facebook, Twitter, and so on, Web 2 platforms such as Discord, to remove the possibilities of a Sybil attack. So you could use DAOs depend on Web 2 platforms to validate themselves. So at the same time, DeFi lending platforms could not offer uncollateralized loans. So normally you want to give collateral and then you get a loan. But guys, like with Terra Luna, you gave a collateral, say for example, worth $10,000 of Luna. You borrowed, let's say USDT worth $10,000. That Luna is now worth 0, and you still have the 10,000 USDT. Obviously that person is not going to pay back. But if their wallet was a soul bound wallet, then if that person doesn't pay back, their reputation is already tainted, especially if you've spent a long time building your reputation on that particular wallet. So at this juncture, they say here, soul bound tokens can serve as the bridge or connecting link for trust gaps in the Web3. In Web3, the non-transferable nature ensures that they can work as instruments for developing social identities. As a result, it can enable people and protocols to serve on the foundation of trust alongside maintaining privacy simultaneously. So you have privacy, and these companies can run because they can. There's no KYC, but they can prove that people. It's more like don't trust but verify, something like that. So you already have these people. You don't really need to know who they are, but you know that the wallets interacting with your platform have a reputation to keep. So use cases of Soul Bound tokens. The important highlights regarding use cases of Soul Bound tokens also make a major portion of the project's white paper. So that's in reference to Vitalik's paper, because it was one of the first people to actually propose this. Clarity regarding the value of these non-transferable tokens is an important highlight which can encourage their adoption. So here's an overview of the important use case pertaining to Soul Bound tokens. So just look at this infographic and I kind of lay down a few things. So use cases of these tokens, we have NFT ownership, of course, proving the NFT ownership, like a POAP. A proof of attendance token is an NFT. So if you can ultimately prove and ingrain a certain level of ownership to that token, then essentially you create that level of trust. And of course, DeFi lending, we looked at that, being able to provide uncollateralized debt positions or loans, SIBO resistant attacks. So we've looked at that as well. You can create resumes for yourself or medical records and so on. Soul drops, I guess. I'm not actually sure what that is, but somewhere in Proof of Humanity, they were talking about the Soul Bound company, and when you form this Soul Bound, contract, then those people are known as souls. So maybe when you're a soul, you get these airdrops to you for more soul tokens or whatever it is. Interesting stuff. So academic credentials, obviously we looked at the CV, and then we have, of course, a digital CV, and these other things, NFT ownership. They expand onto that, guys. I'm going to put 2 links of these articles in the description, especially if you're new to this space. You might want to fast forward and absorb all this knowledge instead of not knowing where to start from. So on the other hand, Soul Bound Tokens, so it goes into NFT ownership. You can read more about that, get into minting NFTs and wallets, DeFi lending, SIBO resistance. They explain a little bit more, and Soul Drops. We can read this one since we didn't fully understand. So the development of new crypto projects generally involves a community effort with creation of new communities. So crypto projects can launch airdrops alongside conducting different token sales. However, the process is generally associated with SIBO attacks. So with whales consuming majority of the drops, yeah, that's actually a problem. On top of it, airdrops cannot reach the target community. So Soul Bound Tokens can solve the problem by ensuring airdrops on the basis of details analysis of the Soul Bound token on the soul of a user. So the concept of soul drop has been outlined clearly in the white paper by Vitalik Buterin. For instance, projects focused on enhancing sustainability could ensure airdrop of governance tokens to souls, with tokens verifying their association with various sustainable activities. So academic credentials, digital CV, are Soul Bound tokens available for use, stuff like that. So the most striking highlights in discussion are what are Soul Bound tokens? Points to their availability. Soul Bound NFTs are tokens, tokens are just a new concept that made an entry into the world of Web3. With a blog post by Vitalik Buterin, the co-founder of Ethereum blockchain, has reported that experiments related to the concept of Soul Bound token would start on the Ethereum blockchain. As of now, there is no specific date for when the SBTs would be available. So guys, you can do more research into this topic. I found it extremely interesting, and it further ingrained my sort of understanding of the importance of NFTs and the sort of impact they're going to have in the crypto space as we move forward. So if you're analyzing DeFi, if you're looking for the trend in the crypto space, also look out for things like that, which fall into identity, decentralized identities or digital identities, because that's very important, and privacy and decentralization, because people are looking for that, and security, right? So you have to look at those fundamental aspects of cryptocurrency: scalability, security, and being safe. Don't trust but verify. These all things are buzzwords, but they are extremely important to build a true Web3 that we're all looking for. All right, guys, I really hope you picked up something in this video. I really hope you learned something. All the links are in the description in case you want to explore more on these topics. I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.